Breaking news from Buckingham Palace. The royal household has confirmed tonight that Prince Louis of Wales, aged 7, is receiving ongoing developmental therapy after specialists identified symptoms consistent with hyperactivity syndrome. The statement, just 3 sentences long, dropped without warning at 8:42 p.m., shaking both Westminster and Windsor. For a family famous for secrecy, this level of disclosure is extraordinary, and it has set off an emotional storm that's sweeping through Britain's media, schools, and living rooms right now. According to the palace, the young prince is in good spirits and under excellent care. But sources tell us the decision to go public came only after weeks of speculation about his absence from public events. One senior royal aide described the internal mood as anxious, conflicted, and afraid of leaks. In plain words, the firm was cornered. Either confirm the truth or let rumors spiral out of control. Within minutes, headlines flashed across every major outlet. Royal health shock. The palace breaks its silence. Prince Louis under observation. Social media lit up. Hashtags number Pray for Louis and number Little Prince Strong climbed to the top of X and TikTok. Teachers, parents, even child psychologists weighed in, praising the family for addressing developmental challenges openly. One education columnist wrote, "For once, the monarchy feels human. We see the worry, not just the wave from the balcony. But behind that public empathy, insiders say the atmosphere inside Kensington Palace is tense." The Wales household had hoped to spend the autumn quietly at Adelaide Cottage, no cameras, no ceremonies, yet the world now demands answers. A courtier admitted privately, "We were told to prepare for a weekend blackout, no statements, no appearances." Then everything changed within an hour. The change, it seems, was not just medical, it was strategic. What triggered the release remains unclear. Several sources point to increasing pressure from media agencies threatening to publish unverified health details. Others believe the king himself urged transparency, hoping to show a softer monarchy under his reign. But even those close to the palace concede the revelation carries risk. The moment you open the door, one long-time communications advisor told The Telegraph, "You can't close it again. Every camera, every headline will ask for more." Meanwhile, the public is already looking to one person for answers. Catherine, Princess of Wales, the nation's most photographed mother. She's been unusually quiet in recent weeks, seen only on the school run and at charity calls. Tonight, however, unconfirmed reports suggest she may break her silence soon. Parents at St. Thomas Preparatory, where Louis has been enrolled part-time, say an unlisted meeting has been scheduled for tomorrow morning. The palace has refused comment, fueling speculation that Catherine might attend, perhaps even speak. If true, it would mark her first unscripted appearance since the medical announcement, a move that could either calm the nation or intensify the crisis. Royal commentators are already divided. One analyst told Sky News, "If she speaks from the heart, she could redefine what royal motherhood means." Another warned, "Every word she says will be dissected." The monarchy doesn't do emotion well, and she knows it. Outside Windsor tonight, cameras gather in the rain. Parents drop off handmade cards at the school gates. The air carries that mix of sympathy and curiosity unique to royal Britain, half concern, half spectacle. Even now, the palace insists there will be no further comment. Yet the silence only makes the question louder. Will Catherine remain the quiet guardian behind palace walls, or step forward, unfiltered, as the mother of a boy the whole world suddenly feels it knows? Because one thing is certain, the story of Prince Louis's struggle has just begun, and by this time tomorrow, the world may be talking about far more than a diagnosis. Less than 24 hours after Buckingham Palace confirmed Prince Louis's developmental therapy, the quiet streets around St. Thomas Preparatory turned into a media siege. By sunrise, camera vans lined the narrow lanes, reporters stood in raincoats, and local parents whispered that Something big was about to happen. They were right. At precisely 9:06 a.m., Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped out of a black Range Rover, unaccompanied by staff. No bodyguards flanking her, no formal entrance, just a mother in a cream coat and low heels, carrying a small notebook. The school had expected an informal parents' meeting. What it got instead was the moment now replayed on every major network, the Windsor Speech. Eyewitnesses say she began softly, addressing a group of around 40 parents seated in the gymnasium. Her voice trembled at first, but soon steadied. "We live in a world that praises speed and noise," she said, "but our children need space to be still." Then came the line that broke through every algorithm in Britain. Technology gives them a window to the world, but sometimes it closes the door to their hearts. According to those present, the room fell silent. One teacher later told The Guardian, "No one moved. She wasn't reading from notes. It was raw. You could hear emotion in every pause." Another parent described seeing tears in her eyes as she continued, "When our children withdraw, it's not disobedience, it's exhaustion. They're trying to keep up with a world that never stops scrolling." By mid-morning, snippets of the speech, recorded discreetly on smartphones, were circulating online. Within hours, hashtags number the Windsor Speech and number Mother First reached 10 million views. Parenting influencers called it the most relatable royal moment in years. British tabloids splashed it across their front pages with headlines like, "Catherine speaks for every parent," and "A princess against the screen." But inside Buckingham Palace, sources say the mood was anything but celebratory. One senior aide told The Times, "No one approved that appearance. It wasn't on the diary." The palace press team found out from Twitter. Another insider described the reaction in one word: chaos. Staff reportedly scrambled to issue a neutral clarification, insisting the princess had spoken informally and that no policy statement was made. But that did little to calm the frenzy. In fact, the palace's restraint only fueled speculation that Catherine had broken protocol. Royal commentators noted that no member of the family has ever linked a child's well-being to modern social issues, like technology addiction. "It's uncharted territory," said Dr. Rebecca Forrester, a sociologist specializing in family studies. Catherine's words cut across class and status. For a moment, she wasn't royal. She was every mother trying to protect her child. Meanwhile, public support soared. Candlelit vigils appeared outside Kensington Palace, while schools across the country hosted phone-free days in solidarity with the young prince. A popular parenting forum wrote, "If the future king's son struggles too, maybe we can finally talk about it without shame." Yet not everyone was convinced. In private, some courtiers reportedly viewed the speech as a media gamble. One unnamed advisor told Daily Mail Online, "Emotion is powerful, but the monarchy runs on discipline. Once you blur that line, you invite chaos." Others pointed fingers at William, suggesting he should have stopped the appearance. But close friends of the couple insist he knew nothing until afterward. "She followed her instinct," said a Kensington source. He respects that, even if it scares the palace. The parallels with Princess Diana became inevitable. Across newsrooms, journalists replayed footage of Diana's 1995 interview, drawing comparisons between her vulnerability and Catherine's candor. One veteran royal correspondent commented, "You can almost feel the ghost of Kensington past, another young mother choosing truth over protocol." As evening fell, royal experts described the event as a turning point in modern monarchy, a moment when compassion broke through ceremony. "This wasn't about rebellion," said broadcaster Emily Carver. "It was about reality. For once, the palace wasn't dictating the story. Life was. Still, the consequences are unfolding fast." Senior officials at Buckingham Palace reportedly called an emergency meeting to assess the fallout. There are concerns that Catherine's remarks could be interpreted as criticism of technology companies, potentially dragging the crown into political territory. A memo circulating among aides warns, any reference to health or education reform must be cleared in advance. But among ordinary citizens, the reaction remains overwhelmingly sympathetic. At playgrounds and supermarkets, parents quote her words. One father told ITV, "She said what we all think but never dare say, that screens are stealing our kids from us." And so, less than one day after a medical disclosure stunned the country, the monarchy finds itself facing a new kind of crisis, one built not on scandal, but on sincerity. Catherine's unfiltered honesty has humanized the royal family in a way no PR campaign ever could. Yet as cameras continue to crowd outside Windsor, one question hangs in the damp autumn air. Has the Princess of Wales just given the monarchy its most powerful moment of the decade, or has she crossed a line the palace can never uncross? Either way, Britain is watching. And for the first time in years, the story of the royal family isn't about crowns or titles, it's about a mother, a child, and the courage to speak when silence is expected. Tension is rising inside Buckingham Palace tonight. Less than 48 hours after the Windsor Speech shook the royal establishment, insiders describe an atmosphere of controlled panic behind the gilded doors. What began as a heartfelt moment of maternal honesty has spiraled into a full-scale crisis management operation, one that's exposing deep fractures within the firm itself. Sources tell The Times that a private emergency meeting was convened early this morning at Clarence House. Senior courtiers, communications advisors, and members of the King's inner circle reportedly debated for more than 3 hours how to contain the narrative. One participant, speaking on condition of anonymity, said, "The tone was brittle. Everyone knows Catherine's words resonated with the public, but the palace doesn't like losing control of the message. There's fear that sympathy could turn into scrutiny." Oh! According to multiple accounts, Queen Camilla took the hardest line, urging restraint and warning that too much emotion could erode the monarchy's dignity. "We are not a talk show family," she allegedly told attendees. Her comments reportedly drew a stony silence from Prince William, who was described as visibly torn between loyalty to the crown and loyalty to his wife. One insider added, "He didn't raise his voice, but you could see it in his jaw. This was personal." Oh! Palace staff are said to be divided into two camps. The first, mostly traditionalists aligned with Camilla, believe Catherine's speech was a dangerous breach of protocol. The second, composed of younger aides close to the Wales household, argue that the princess has done more to humanize the monarchy in 2 days than any carefully crafted campaign in decades. A communications advisor sympathetic to Catherine told BBC Newsnight, "The world doesn't need perfect royals, it needs honest ones." Behind the scenes, damage control efforts have intensified. A draft statement, circulating internally but not yet released, would emphasize the royal family's ongoing commitment to privacy and professionalism. Another, more cautious version praises Catherine's dedication to child welfare. As of tonight, neither has been approved. Officials fear that any attempt to walk back her remarks could trigger a backlash from the public, who overwhelmingly side with the princess. Polling by YouGov shows her popularity spiking to record highs, with 83% of respondents calling her speech brave or necessary. But not everyone outside the palace is applauding. Several conservative commentators accused her of modern-day politicking, arguing that her attack on smartphone culture flirted with activism. One columnist in The Spectator wrote, "Catherine risks turning the crown into a platform for causes. Compassion is admirable, policy is perilous." Others counter that the monarchy must evolve or fade. Political analyst Hugo Fletcher summed it up bluntly. Either the royals learn to speak human, or they'll become museum pieces. Meanwhile, the strain on William and Catherine is reportedly showing. Friends describe the couple as united but exhausted. They've avoided public appearances since the speech, focusing on their children and maintaining silence. Yet that silence is feeding more speculation. Rumours swirl that Camilla's office wants Catherine to issue a clarification, or even a semi-apology to cool tensions. One royal insider dismissed the idea as unthinkable. "She's not walking it back," the source said. "She believes what she said, and she knows the country heard her." The king himself is said to be playing mediator. According to a senior courtier, Charles privately sympathizes with Catherine, but worries that her growing influence could overshadow his reign. He remembers what happened with Diana, the source noted. He can't afford another figure who commands more affection than the sovereign. Outside the palace gates, the public mood remains electric. Protesters and supporters mingle. Some carry placards reading, "Let her speak," while others demand, "Keep the crown neutral." Social media pulses with new hashtags, #Windsor Divide, #Team Kate, #Protect Louis, turning what began as a family issue into a national reckoning. Royal historians are already calling this the most significant internal rift since the 1992. Dr. Simon O'Rourke of Oxford University told Channel 4, "This is not scandal in the traditional sense, no affairs, no money issues, it's ideological, a clash between the monarchy's past and its possible future." Tonight, Kensington Palace remains dark, its windows shuttered against the flashes of photographers. Inside, aides draft, redraft, and delete potential statements, unsure which direction the family will take. The firm has survived wars, divorces, and abdications, but never the weapon of raw emotion. As one exhausted press secretary muttered while leaving the palace gates, "She spoke from love, but love has consequences." And that is the unspoken truth haunting the royal corridors tonight. In trying to protect her son, Catherine may have exposed the crown's deepest fault line yet. After days of silence and speculation, the royal story that began with a single speech has now evolved into a nationwide conversation about the future of the monarchy itself and the children who will one day inherit it. But amid the storm, another royal narrative has quietly emerged: the contrast between two brothers, two destinies, and two very different ways of growing up royal. Public fascination with Prince George and Prince Louis has reached fever pitch. Since the palace's confirmation of Louis's developmental therapy, media attention has intensified, dissecting every old clip, every family photograph, every subtle glance caught on camera. The comparisons are relentless. George, now 10, is painted as the calm, collected heir, while Louis, 7, is labelled the spirited wild card. It's a narrative the palace is struggling to contain. Insiders describe growing discomfort at how the tabloids are shaping the brothers into opposites, perfection versus unpredictability, feeding an old royal trope the family knows too well. "It's history repeating itself," said one veteran photographer who's followed the Wales family since birth. "The golden child and the mischievous one, the heir and the spare, the same story, just smaller uniforms." And that tension reached a new peak this week after footage resurfaced from last summer's Trooping the Colour ceremony. In the clip, Louis squirms beside his mother, waves at the crowd, then covers her mouth playfully mid-conversation. At the time, the world laughed. But now, online commenters view it differently, as a sign, as evidence of hyperactivity, as if a child's energy could be decoded like state policy. Psychologists have begged for restraint, warning against armchair diagnoses. Still, social media thrives on easy stories, and Louis, bright-eyed, restless, endearing, has become an unintentional symbol of both innocence and anxiety. Behind the scenes, Catherine and William have reportedly decided to pull back. The children will make no public appearances for the foreseeable future, a move described by aides as protective, not punitive. One palace staffer explained, "They want their children to breathe. After everything that's been said, they need space to be a family, not a brand." But even that decision has fueled debate. Critics argue the Waleses are withdrawing too much. Supporters say it's the first act of true modern parenting inside the royal bubble. On social media, a viral post put it simply, "They're not hiding, they're healing." Within palace walls, however, tension lingers. Sources claim Camilla's private office has expressed serious concern over the optics of removing the heirs from view. A leaked memo reportedly warned that extended absence risks creating perceptual voids, inviting media speculation. Translation: the fewer the photo ops, the hungrier the cameras become. For William, the situation is delicate. One court insider described him as quietly furious at how his children's private struggles have been turned into headlines. He's said to be pushing back against senior aides who want the family to stage a controlled reappearance, a soft photo shoot to reassure the public. "That's not happening," said a friend close to the couple. "This isn't a PR problem, it's a child's life." Meanwhile, Catherine remains unseen in public, but not unheard. Her previous words from the Windsor Speech, "When our children withdraw, it's not defiance, it's exhaustion," have taken on new meaning. Schools across the UK have reported record sign-ups for parent workshops on screen-free parenting, inspired by her remarks. One London headteacher said, "We've never seen anything like it." She started a national reflection. Public opinion, however, remains divided. Some media voices praise the Wales family for breaking the royal mould with honesty and compassion. Others claim the couple's retreat risks alienating the institution from its subjects. A columnist for The Telegraph asked pointedly, "Can a family that hides still lead a nation?" Through it all, one image continues to circulate, a photo taken by a bystander outside Windsor Park. It shows George walking hand in hand with Louis, shielding him from photographers as they pass. No guards, no aides, just two brothers under an umbrella. It's already been shared millions of times with the caption, "The heir protects the heart." As the monarchy grapples with this new, fragile transparency, the story of George and Louis has become more than a royal subplot. It's a reflection of every family learning to balance duty and love, public image and private reality. And yet, behind the empathy and hashtags, unease still brews within the firm. Insiders whisper that the king's patience is wearing thin, that the calls for stability are growing louder. Because for all the compassion Catherine's words have inspired, one fact remains unshakable. The monarchy runs on control, not chaos. Tonight, the palace faces a question that no press statement can answer. Can a family defined by silence survive in an age that demands truth? And as the world waits, two young brothers, one heir, one heart, are quietly rewriting what it means to be royal in the 21st century. Nearly 2 weeks after the Windsor Speech first stunned the world, the Princess of Wales has re-emerged, not as a royal figurehead bound by protocol, but as the driving force behind a new social movement that's shaking both Westminster and Silicon Valley. The campaign is called Screens Off, Hearts On, and it's already being described by commentators as the most personal and politically charged initiative ever led by a senior royal. Oh? The announcement came unexpectedly during a televised panel on child mental health hosted at the Royal Foundation Centre in London. Catherine appeared poised, wearing a simple navy dress and speaking without notes. Her message was firm, heartfelt, and unmistakably modern. "This is not about banning technology," she began, "but about reclaiming the moments it steals. Childhood is not a competition of attention spans. It's the space where empathy is born." The audience, a mix of educators, pediatricians, and parents, gave a standing ovation. Yet, within minutes, the palace press office was scrambling again. The initiative, though branded as personal, bore all the hallmarks of a national campaign: partnerships with schools, new parental guides, and a proposed digital awareness week. Officially, it was framed as a voluntary project, but inside government circles, the message was clear. The future Queen had just entered a public policy debate. According to royal insiders, the campaign had been months in the making, quietly developed by Catherine's team after Louis's diagnosis. One aide told ITV News, It was her way of turning pain into purpose. She didn't want her son's story to end with sympathy. She wanted it to start something bigger. Within hours of the launch, social media exploded with support. #number screens off hearts on trended across the UK and North America. Parents began sharing photos of family dinners without phones. Classrooms announced tech-free Fridays. And even major celebrities, from Ed Sheeran to Emma Watson, reposted Catherine's quotes. "A mother's voice can change more than algorithms," read one viral caption. But not everyone was applauding. In Parliament, a handful of MPs quietly expressed discomfort over what one described as the Crown edging into cultural activism. Tech industry representatives were even blunter. A spokesperson for a major social platform told the Financial Times, "We respect the princess's advocacy, but it risks demonizing technology instead of promoting balance." Inside Buckingham Palace, Queen Camilla was said to be privately exasperated. A source close to her circle revealed, "Her Majesty feels this is dangerously close to making policy statements. The palace prefers causes, not crusades." But another insider countered, "The younger royals understand the moment. Catherine isn't challenging the crown, she's modernizing it." For William, the campaign appears to mark a turning point. In his first comment since the controversy began, he stood beside his wife during a surprise visit to a youth centre in Reading. When asked whether he supported her initiative, he smiled and replied simply, 100%. Family first. The brief statement sent a powerful signal. The Waleses are united, and the palace would have to adapt or risk looking tone-deaf. Public response continues to tilt in their favour. Polling by YouGov this week shows a dramatic rise in support for Catherine, particularly among young parents and educators. A headline in The Guardian read, "The Princess has found her voice, and Britain is listening." Still, tension behind the scenes remains palpable. According to one palace communications officer, "Every time she speaks from the heart, the institution panics. But you can't stop authenticity, it's contagious." As donations pour into children's charities and schools scramble to join the new initiative, the monarchy finds itself standing at a crossroads. Catherine's movement has moved beyond sympathy or gossip. It's now a national conversation about how Britain raises its children in the digital age. And yet, beneath the applause, a quiet question lingers in the corridors of power. When a royal cause becomes a crusade, where does the crown draw the line? Because tonight, it's no longer just about screens, or even about Prince Louis. It's about a mother who turned silence into action, and an institution still deciding whether to follow her lead. It has been 4 months since Buckingham Palace confirmed Prince Louis's developmental therapy, and the Princess of Wales's unfiltered words set off what the press now calls the Windsor Reckoning. What began as a family revelation has transformed into a full-blown national reform, one that's quietly redefining how Britain sees parenting, technology, and the monarchy itself. The ripples of the Windsor Speech are still spreading. Across the UK, more than 3,000 schools have adopted screens off, hearts on programs inspired by Catherine's campaign. Charities supporting children with attention and learning challenges have seen donations triple. Pediatric clinics report a surge in parents seeking early diagnoses, spurred by the princess's candour about Louis. What was once whispered, shame has become an open conversation. And now, in a moment both symbolic and deeply human, Prince Louis has reappeared in public for the first time. The setting was quiet, a small children's hospital in Oxford, where the Wales family arrived unannounced. Louis, wearing a blue jumper, handed out handmade cards to young patients and smiled shyly at the cameras. Reporters on site described him as brighter, calmer, still full of spark. His mother stood nearby, no script, no speeches, just watching, eyes bright with pride. The palace later released a single photograph, Louis holding his mother's hand beneath a banner that read, "Hearts on." No statement accompanied it. None was needed. In a royal household famous for stoicism, the image spoke volumes. According to palace aides, the king privately congratulated the Waleses for turning adversity into empathy. Sources say even Queen Camilla has softened her tone, reportedly telling confidants, "Perhaps the world needed to see a bit more heart after all." Outside the royal bubble, public opinion has shifted dramatically. Commentators now describe Catherine as the emotional architect of a new era, a woman who bridged the distance between monarchy and everyday Britain. One historian wrote in the Times, "Where Diana revealed fragility, Catherine revealed endurance. Both women, in their own ways, redefined grace. The monarchy, often accused of being frozen in tradition, now faces a future coloured by authenticity." Royal analysts note that Catherine's influence has forced the institution to modernise, not through slogans, but through sincerity. The Royal Foundation is preparing to launch a permanent research branch on child mental health, with Louis's story serving as its quiet inspiration. And yet, amid all the praise, the princess remains cautious. In a rare comment released today, she said simply, "We are grateful for the kindness shown to our family. Every child teaches us something." Louis reminded us that love listens louder than judgment. It's a line that's already gone viral, printed on posters, quoted in Parliament, even trending on TikTok under number love listens. For millions, it feels like the perfect punctuation to a story that began with pain and ended with purpose. But make no mistake, this isn't a fairy tale ending. It's a beginning built on honesty. A monarchy once defined by silence now finds itself measured by compassion. Catherine's voice, once hesitant, now echoes far beyond the palace walls. And Prince Louis, the boy once shielded by curtains and headlines, has quietly become the symbol of that transformation. As dusk falls over Windsor, the camera lights fade, leaving one final image. A family walking together, not as royals, but as parents and children who chose truth over perfection. And maybe that's what this story was always about. Because in a world obsessed with crowns, one mother reminded us that the real power lies in love that speaks and love that listens. If this story moved you, if you believe that even the oldest institutions can find new heart, make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and join us for the next chapter of Royal Silence. This isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a new kind of monarchy, one led, at last, by compassion,